Pre-game, looking ahead to what should be a winnable game against the Philadelphia Eagles at home.
At least the schedule gets easier now.
Yeah, at least things soften up for us. This was the real challenging stretch of the Chicago Bears, the Atlanta Falcons, and then the New York Giants. Just the stalwarts of the NFL. We had the battle here coming out of that 1-2. You got to just be glad we got one win. Anyways. What's going on, man?
All I can say positive is that I was under the weather for a couple of weeks. I'm feeling a lot better, so no more flu game pod. But other than that, I guess it's to be expected when we play the Giants. Another tough one.
We said it in the pregame, right? We're gonna suffer, and it's just never. I had a fan tweet me earlier today, said, "Hey, I just want it to be easy," and I said, "Man, 26 years of watching this team, I can't remember the last time it was easy." I said it's not. I don't think we're headed there anytime soon. But
hey, son,
I feel them.
You forgot to thank me.
For what? What am I thanking you for?
I gave you 26 years of character building, right? You could have been a Ravens fan. Had an easy win today. Be running around, pumping your chest out.
Yeah.
This builds character, son.
Ran over one of the best teams in the NFL. Meanwhile, we got dog walked by the New York Football Giants. And Brian
the insiders got it too easy, man. He just got it too easy.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor was moonwalking.
What character building's all about.
Tough.
Anyway, let's get into it. I want you to start with your thoughts and your reaction.
I mean, if this is what character building is all about, after 4 years of having Ron Rivera as my head coach, I've got enough character for the next 2 lifetimes. So I'm covered on.
Yeah, Jay Leno before that.
I'm covered on that. Jay Leno looks better and better every one of these slow starts that we go through. I'll tell you that much. I am.
That's Jay Gruden, by the way.
Yeah.
Coined by Doc Walk.
I like Jay Chappelle. I like Jay Chappelle too. I thought that was a good one. Man, minute 57 seconds into the pod, we're talking about Jay Gruden. That should let you know where we're at emotionally. I think there's no better way that I can start off my vibe check here. Oh my goodness. I'm just like, I can't even blame the players for not showing up for this coaching staff, because at this point, I'm having a hard time showing up for the coaching staff as a fan, as a super fan, as a guy that makes podcasts twice a week about this team, spend hours after the fact editing and uploading and making thumbnails. And even me, I'm watching this team and I'm going, yeah, this is about it. This is about what we get with Ron Rivera when he makes the roster decisions, when he builds this team. You saw him come alive for 1 second to cut into the refs, and that was about it.
Looked good with that towel wrapped around his neck, too.
Oh, jeez. I don't know what the towel was there for. It's not catching any sweat. He's not sweating. It's just terrible. I mean, just awful top to bottom performance from the team. The defense did their job. It kept us in it. You figure 14 points allowed over the course of an entire game, your offense should be able to win. We talked about that last week. The defense held Atlanta to 16, gave the offense the opportunity to go out and win the football game, and we did that. But how hard can you cheer on the defense for keeping the team alive against the New York Giants with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback either? You can only play who's in front of you, and they did their job. They got gashed on a couple drives, but for the most
big
part,
plays in there. But I'm not gonna complain at all about the defense.
I'm with you. I don't want to tee off too much on the defense.
You shut him out in the second half, and they had one really good drive, but you force a turnover from Saquon, and when your offense is just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Yep.
It's hard. It's really tough.
About that. We talked about that in the Chicago game going into, and the defense was obviously awful in that Chicago game, but no help from the offense in killing some momentum of the other team and getting a little something going, just 3 and out, 3 and out. And you saw it again this week, just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I mean, I think we had like 47 total yards of offense in the first half or something like that. I mean, just absolutely terrible. The sacks are piling up when in the first half, and Sam put together a couple decent drives towards the end, but definitely started slow, had no time to throw the ball. And when he did have time to throw the ball, he wasn't throwing it well. You could see he was just totally rattled by the amount of pressure. And there was no game plan around the pressure. And that's just, we're setting ourselves up for a 3-14, 5-12 kind of season if we're going to go about things that way. That's just where
there's a long way to go, and honestly, I hate projecting stuff like that.
Whatever.
I'll leave that to you.
But there's no way.
We're gonna win a couple that we probably shouldn't, and then we'll see where that all lands. Right.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the record is at the end of the season. This team's not going to make a deep playoff run. This team's not going to the Super Bowl. Whatever. Who cares about the projection? It's more of just a describing factor of the vibe around this team and what this team is, the level this team is performing at. It's more about that than the accuracy of the numbers.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you play one team that's doesn't have a win, and then another that's got one win and has not played really well. I mean, I gave my opinion on the Giants on the pregame pod, and you get thoroughly outplayed by both teams. I mean, the only thing that I will say is that the second half was better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. Lot to do with the defense. Lot to do with the defense
there, right?
keeping us in it. And it, as crazy as it is to say, and I'm not meaning to say this as a positive, we had our chances to win that game. I mean, 2 opportunities inside the 10-yard line to get it done, and even right there at the end, that ball should have been caught. And Jahan has got to, at some point, take advantage of the opportunities he's getting.
Yep.
I mean,
got to get it together. And, I mean, I will say JP tweeted it, and I agree with him. That game came down. We lost that game for a lot more reasons than one drop. And you can boil it down.
Of course.
You can put it all on Jahan if you want. And I know you're not doing that, but I know some fans out there probably are. It comes down to a lot more than that. The bottom line.
I'm not putting the game on Jahan, but at some point you keep dropping balls in big situations, and you start wondering why you're not getting the ball more. Like, at some point, he's going to have to take responsibility for how he's performing, which I'm not saying he's not, but it's just to see Sam, make a play. And okay, the ball's a little behind him, but I mean, he's under distress. That's a play you got to make for your quarterback, right? That's an incredibly difficult throw at that point, in the game. And I'll say, anyway, wrap up your points, because I want you to wrap up in terms of anything that else you want to say related to the React. Because I've got some thoughts.
Tag off to put a button on that thought about Dotson. Yeah. If you're a first-round pick in the NFL and the ball hits you in the hands, you catch it. That's it. There's no – Sam made an incredible play to extend and get outside. I said sack. I said sack out loud when the ball got snapped. I said, this is a sack. This is how it goes. And as usual, Sam had no chance and gave us a chance there. But, yeah, to wrap up, I mean, if you want to grab a positive takeaway, you can say that Sam's got a lot of guts, and that despite the game plan, the offensive line, and everything around its best efforts, despite our best efforts as a franchise to try and break this guy, somehow we haven't broken him yet. That's a positive. I
think him coming back after that first half and performing like he did is absolutely
fantastic.
Incredible.
Fantastic.
I think it's incredible. And it's going to be an unpopular take, but defending Sam Howell maybe, but I just think it's incredible. And I think the single biggest problem with the kid is coaching.
100%. That's
point blank.
That's pretty much what I
That's
said.
my
Like
opinion.
between the game plan and the building of the offensive line and the play of the offensive line, we're trying to break this kid, and he's somehow still
I
hanging in
tweeted,
there and making the best of it. But give me your thoughts.
all credit to Nicky Jabala, right? But he had 2.2 seconds to throw the ball in the first half.
Yeah.
On average.
I mean, Tom Brady at 45 wasn't getting the ball out of his hands faster.
No. Like, so, I mean, this is going to be, it's going to be very quick to say he's taken too many sacks. I don't know. I didn't see many today that I'd put on Sam, but let the experts and PFF and all them talk about it. Here's my takeaway. One, we were thoroughly outcoached, and I'm so tired of being outcoached by bad football teams. I don't think if you surveyed Giants fans, they're thinking that Brian Daboll's a great coach this year anyway. And they came in with a game plan. And then the other thing is we knew exactly what they were going to do. And they just didn't do it. I mean, we didn't prepare for it until the second half. We seemed to make some adjustments to deal with their pressure. But we knew all week they were going to put that kind of pressure on us, and they didn't do it. And we didn't prepare for it. Is my point, right? And so it's like the offensive game plan was just awful in the first half. To know they're going to blitz you, I'd rather run the ball 3 times and get stuffed than just drop a quarterback back that just has no shot. You cannot. It was basically a game where we should have been running no dropbacks. That might sound crazy, but we couldn't protect him. So don't do it. Roll him out, which was very effective, by the way. When we rolled him out, it was very effective. In the first half, there were no screen plays, bubble screens or screens to the back, or even just those quick outs to wide receivers. Where was all of that? Where was it all of it? We got to stop. And I said it to you, and I'm just going to say it. This team, the way we are built, has to be a run-first team. The offensive linemen are not prepared to run block, so when we do run, it's not very good. But it was a calculated misstep, and this might give me some heat, to go get a coach that's a pass-first coach with the talent level that we have on this team. If that coach is not willing to run an offense that meets the talent level of this team.
100%. I agree with you. It was
an error. Now, I will say this. As crazy as it sounds, and I agree, Giants are a bad football team. So saying all this, that we were able to do this with against a bad football team, is nothing to write home about. But I do think at least we battled back. And in the second half, we gave ourselves an opportunity to win that game. And we were the better football team in the second half. It's just that you come out and you have to constantly come back and dig yourself a hole. And, we talked about the stat that 70-something%, maybe it's 80 now, of the time since Ron Rivera has been our coach, that we have
come out slow,
trailed in the first half. So anyway, I guess that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
It's hard to come away with positives, but it really felt like it could have been a lot worse than 14-0 that first half, because we got just beat off the field, especially on offense. But it was good that we at least put ourselves. But I'll tell you, this team's going to kill me. Yeah. I mean, it is just hard to watch this football team.
To just put a button on everything and then get into the awards here. Rhetorical question here, because I know the answer, Pop. How sick are you of saying, but we battled back in the second half? I'm sick of it.
I agree.
I'm sick of it. it is really, really frustrating to have to keep saying that after losing games to bad football teams or after barely beating bad football teams. Because the bottom line is when we get the win like we did against Arizona or like we did against Denver, we completely ignore what went wrong. And we come back and we go exactly to the same crap. And then we sit here on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on the West Coast for me, stunned that we're getting ran over by the Giants. And I'm just not stunned anymore because what I said to you before we did the pod, because you said to me, you said, well, I want to talk about the fact that we still had a chance to win it. And I said, that's cool. I agree with you. There's something to be said about that. But the bottom line is for the takeaway to be after we lost, well, we were still in it against a team that bad. That means we are as bad as that football team. And I think at this point, after you lose to Chicago and after you lose to the Giants, you have to look at this team at 3-4 and go, this is among that bottom tier in the NFL. And they have to be looked at that way until we prove otherwise.
Well, and I'll draw a parallel. It's just this may seem a bit wild, but bear with me. Like RG3, right? There was no bigger, and Dominic can tell you this, RG3 fan than I was because his first year was so phenomenal. I just couldn't let it go. And I know there's many of us out there. I couldn't let it go.
We've all been.
And I just couldn't wrap my head around that he couldn't be that quarterback again or something close to it. And we just, but there was a certain point in that whole saga, and it was pretty close to somewhere in the second year, where you zoom out and you look and you go, I know what this script looks like. And we're going to try and we're going to try and we're going to try. And at the end of this thing, it ain't going to work out. And I think we know what this script looks like. This is first year of new ownership. This is going to be a team that's 3-4 now. Maybe they're 7. I got yelled at you for projecting, but we know what they're going to be like. I don't like the 4 or 5 win stuff. That gets on my nerves, but because I think the team's going to be more. I think the team's going to be more competitive than that. But I think we know what we're looking like. It's 7, 8, 6. In an absolute miracle, 9 wins. And where's your hope for the future? This roster has got serious flaws, especially on offensive line.
Built terribly.
More than anything, right? And it's just living. We've got to almost live through this year, get through it somehow, and hope for better times after. And that's tough 26 years in for you, having dealt with the same stuff year in, year out for that long. And I will tell you, I lived through the glory years. They feel like 1,000 years ago. So as a fan, it doesn't even feel like reality that this team was once great or contending or winning 3 Super Bowls in 10 years. So it's just, but it is what it is. There's hope in the future. I think it's a shame for Sam because I think he's going to be a victim of this situation. I'm not saying that we know. Whether or not he could be the guy, but I don't think we're going to find out with this offensive line and this coaching staff. And I think, the new regime's almost going to have to make a change there. But I don't know. There's a lot of season left. Maybe we come back and surprise things with the Eagles. But I blame you, son. You said we'd be playing first place next week. That's what got us this week. But
I said,
no, it's so predictable. I'm just kidding. It's so predictable, right? I mean, you just know this is what's going to happen against the Giants.
Well,
you just know it's what's going to happen.
If you look back on the history of this team and you look at this roster, I texted you today. I think this year there are higher expectations for this team because of the ownership change and because of the enemy coming in. And so we're placing a little more. We don't have Dan to blame anymore, right? We don't have Voldemort to just say, oh, well, we never have a chance. So we're really looking at Rivera and we're really looking at Del Rio and the coach.
He's still to blame because this is still his team, just to be clear.
Sure. I'm not saying that I'm transferring the blame to Josh Harris, but I'm saying now we're looking at, the reality of it is Dan Snyder wasn't calling down and saying, hey, it's 4th and 3 on the 9-yard line, kick the field goal. Those were decisions being made by Rivera. And we look at this team. This team has been kept afloat over the last several years by individuals defying odds and making crazy performances. Those catches by Terry McLaurin, those YOLO balls by Taylor Heineke that had no business ever being completions. That is what's kept this team where it's been. And now we're seeing the coaching finally catch up to the team, and we're seeing why can't we take this next step, because we've been handicapped by this situation
coaching
for
and
years.
roster building.
Well, same guy. Yeah. It's the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. So let's move on to the awards.
But I think I got
Go
one
ahead.
more point just to wrap it up.
We got a lot of buttons on this segment.
It's a very difficult situation because now you've got a coaching staff trying to motivate a bunch of guys, and a guy that probably isn't going to get another coaching job in the league. He's getting into his 60s. His record hasn't been stellar. I doubt Ron lands another job. I think Ron knows what the writing is on the wall, and we're dependent on those guys. Jack Del Rio, who's another one that's probably at the end of his career. We're counting on these guys to motivate this team the rest of the way. That's a tough situation at the moment, and we'll see where it goes. And there's a lot of season left, but it's a difficult scenario, and I think we're all going to just need to be realistic. And there's probably not a lot of reason to get too upset at this point because we know what we got.
Yep, and that's why. Did you hear signature Dami rant at the beginning of this episode? No, I don't got it. I don't got it anymore. They're not giving me anything worth ranting about. You come out, you go down 14-0 against the New York Giants. You don't even deserve my rant at this point. Yeah. So let's get into the awards. We're going to give awards this week. They did battle back in the second half. Want to, keep the segment going, keep the structures happening here.
Yep.
Sauce Award is going to go to the guy who wisely we did not pick up the fifth-year option for. Thank you, Ron Rivera. Chase Young. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for losses. Best player on the field today by far. Has been the best player on the field. Last several wins. Has gotten unfairly scapegoated by this fan base, myself included at times. I know we've been overly critical of Chase. I know the injuries have been tough, but to see him back and healthy and balling, always want to see a guy play like that wearing your colors. So got to give this also award to Chase Young. That's awesome. Hope we can find
that's a hell of a stat line, right?
Yeah.
2 sacks, 2 QB hits, and 3 tackles for losses. It's about as dominant as it can get.
Did his job. Helmet stickers, another guy that I think maybe if we end up pulling out the win, you got to give this guy the sauce award with Terry McLaurin. Got to get that helmet sticker. 6 catches for 90 yards. Yeah. Easily gotten it. I told you, Pop, Terry, and Chase, 2 best players on the field by far. I think anybody who watched that can agree. 2 dynamic talents that we talk about, these individual performances, putting the team on their back in these critical moments. It's those guys. It's those guys that you look to. And
not only 6 for 90, but just some huge catches. That one where he took the hit, big play down the sideline and still somehow hang on to the ball and, tack another 15 yards on the end of it was a big play.
Yeah.
So just gotta love him. He got his jersey on. Yep. He's the man.
Always. How about Dayball ready to throw the challenge flag as to whether or not that was a catch when there was still a personal foul on the play? I mean, that's incredible.
I guess they could rule it a non-catch and tack the 15
still get 15 yards
on.
and an automatic first down, but whatever. He chose
not that far down the field.
Yeah, I guess you lose some of the yardage. But anyways, I mean, Terry McLaurin stood up with the football in his hands. He might still be holding on to it. But anyways, David Mayo, how's that for a helmet sticker? Mayo
played well.
Took over for Quiznos.
He played
pretty well. 11 tackles, 9 solo tackles. I mean, he did all right.
He was chasing guys down. I mean, who would you bet would win a foot race, Tyrod Taylor or David Mayo?
Not David Mayo.
And he's chasing him down. So played well.
Yeah, stood up when he needed to. Took over for Quiznos after he went down and showed up. Deron Payne, tackle for loss, forced fumble, literally just ripped that ball from Saquon in the moment. Again, theme here, guys, when we look at Chase, when we look at Terry, when we look at Deron, Sweat had a sack too, I believe. You look at these individual performances, keeping the team in the game at the end of the day. That's not a coach. That's a guy saying, I don't want to lose this football game. And that's what's keeping us moving. And speaking of the things that are knocking us out of the game, let's get to the kick-out of the game, kicking that field goal on 4th and 3 from the 9-yard line. What the hell are we doing?
I mean, you could go back and rewind, and we encourage you to. Why don't you go back, watch every post-game episode from last year, do your research. We got a lot more followers now. But Ron's feel for when to go for it, when to not go for it, to me, it's like, I guess the logic is that how well the Giants defense was playing against us, but we were moving the ball. And honestly, in every 4th down opportunity, like Sam gives us a chance.
Yep.
Like look at the end of the game, right? So it's like I felt relatively confident in going for it there. And plus, what do you got to lose in a game like this where it's such a horrible start and there's so much going on, and why he chose not to go for that? And then you almost just know that that's the perfect opportunity for slot and miss or get it blocked, whatever happened.
Real windy day.
Terrible momentum. And I look at it from a point of view of our defense is playing really well, right? We got a lot of 3 and outs too. We're stopping them. Worst case scenario, you don't get the first down, they're pinned back.
Imagine if you strip Saquon there.
They're pinned back. So, I don't get it. I don't understand.
The math makes no sense either, because we're down 7-14. You kick the field goal, you still need a touchdown. And look at where we were at the end of the game, going for it on 4th and 5. And look at where we would have been if we hit that field goal. We're still going for it on 4th and 5 there.
But it's the feel like when to make those decisions and when to not. I just feel like that's the kind of play that if you make, like you said, we still got to score a touchdown to win the game anyway. So, like, you're not all that much worse off going for it than kicking a field goal. We still got to go get 7.
Yep.
And those decisions, it's just, like I said, this is Ron's farewell tour anyway. So, continuing to kick him probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But, yeah, without a doubt, kick-outs of the game.
Yeah.
What are you doing? No better time to go for it.
And if you look, we've been very critical of Bieniemy this episode. I've been pretty critical of Bieniemy for the last couple stretches.
It hasn't been great.
We're starting to come around. He's not been good. But in those situations, he's got a bag of tricks. And that bag of tricks we've seen that pay off a lot. When things are going well, it's because Bieniemy has to reach into that bag. It's almost like his play calling in the red zone is really good. It's been a lot better. And those situations are the situations. That's why you bring a guy like Eric Bieniemy onto your team. Right there, 4th and 3 at the 9-yard line, you got to call up something that's going to go for 4 yards. He's going to go get an Andy Reid play and call it. That's why you do that. So to take the ball out of his hands, to take the opportunity away from the boys, like you said, Sam Howell can just scramble for 3 yards there. It's not hard. So I have dubbed Ron Rivera, we call him Riverboat Ron. He's Pool Noodle Ron, as far as I'm concerned.
You and these names.
It's Pool Noodle Ron. Because there is nothing, there is no aquatic structure of which you can float on top of that is softer than a pool noodle. The riverboat is gone. People want to say Titanic. It's Pool Noodle Ron, as far as I'm concerned at this point.
Well, it might be soon when he's, after the season, he might
at Riderwood.
be out in California. Now he's going to be at Pebble Beach,
Palm Springs,
doing that. But no, it's. We'll see what happens. They're going to keep playing. We're going to keep watching. But I think any D coordinator that watched this game doesn't know the game plan. It's just blitz the heck out of them because we don't know how to adjust to it. And we did. Credit, I do think the Giants backed off a little bit, but we did make adjustments to it in the second half. And I'll tell you, I just want to give a shout out to Sam because honestly, we talked about maybe even benching him at halftime, and I said I wasn't totally against it. But the way he came out and just balled out well, I shouldn't say balled out, but the guts he showed in the second half and leading, 2 very long drives that didn't end up in points, but I don't think they didn't end up in points because of Sam. I just think I want to give him a shout out. I don't know what's going to happen. I think, I talked about looking at the script and knowing it. I think more than likely he's going to end up being a casualty with the coaching staff and everything else. I hope he at least ends up on this team as a backup next year because I think he's a guy with the right coaching and with the right support that can win games in this league. And I just think the guts he showed in the second half to stay in the pocket and continue to make throws, even though it wasn't perfect, I give him a lot of credit for what he did in that second half.
100%. He showed a lot of heart. And you gotta give the kid credit. What a tough situation to be in as a young quarterback trying to prove yourselves.
It reminds me of Patrick Ramsey.
That's a good pull. Good pull. Yeah, like I said, what a tough situation to be in as a young quarterback trying to prove yourself. And for him to show the class that he's shown, it's all he can do, is just keep fighting and show the class and the grit. But a lot of guys would have quit. There's a graveyard full of NFL quarterbacks that quit in situations like these. And at least we know with Sam, he's not going to quit.
No, so, I mean, did you see his body? Did you see his reaction after the last play? Like he was he was totally just stunned.
Yeah.
He thought we just made that play.
I just saved the game. Yeah, which he might have. But it's tough. I think we've said, it's just kind of a gap year right now. And we're riding it out. We're gonna enjoy it. We're fans, no matter how much we want to talk about. We can't get too worked up about it. We're dropping F-bombs when the team's not playing well. We're getting fired up. It's just so stressful. And I just, I know it's kind of a running bit with me and the Giants. I hate that team, man. I really hate that team. It's a division rival. They just always make us suffer. Now we're sub 500 after losing to them. And crazily enough, I talked about being one game out of first place going into next week. Now we're one game out of last place going into next week.
Yeah, and not being able to beat the Giants is there's no bigger failure you could point to in mediocrity.
Yeah,
and honestly below mediocrity for a coach.
Yeah,
she's not able to beat the Giants. We're not able to beat the Giants.
That's where we're at.
That's it.
That's where we're
at. That's all you got to
know. There's just no better way to put it than that. I say we wrap this thing up. It's been
on that note.
Yeah, it's been a tough week to be a Commanders fan. Been a tough season to be a Commanders fan. But we are here. We'll bring it to you every week. We will we'll catch you guys later this week with a pregame, looking ahead to what should be a winnable game against the Philadelphia Eagles at home.
At least the schedule gets easier now.
Yeah, at least things soften up for us. This was the real challenging stretch of the Chicago Bears, the Atlanta Falcons, and then the New York Giants. Just the stalwarts of the NFL. We had the battle here coming out of that 1-2. You got to just be glad we got one win. Anyways, let's wrap this thing up. Okay, Kat. So without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.